Well, as the world is battling the job puzzle, we are here to decode really the impact that India is facing. Remember, we all have seen globally the post pandemic impact. We have seen the world really discussing and coming together to, sort of look at solutions for the AI impact. Some saying that, of course, some jobs will be hit by AI, some saying that no, there'll be newer job creation. So don't look at it negatively. Well, all of those broad areas, really, but job creation and the fact that the macro picture of India's employment scenario is what we are trying to decode here with senior business economist Sanchita Mukherji. Thank you so much for your time, Sanchita. We have been speaking to analysts across the board and we have been trying to see that, look, what is the real picture for our viewers at home to know on the job scenario and how can we really channelize this and look at solutions for jobs in the future. Now, many saying that, look, entry level jobs, as far as the middle segment is concerned, really, the educated segment and the entry level jobs are drying up. What are your thoughts when economists who are conducting these studies, who are doing these surveys, are saying this to us? They're saying that, look, while there are sectors that are outperforming, while there are hiring trends that we have seen in the rural segment, we have seen initiatives being announced for the rural sector at large. We have seen those take shape. We have seen MSMEs also get that much needed support and do okay. But the problem really is lying with the entry level jobs drying up increasingly. Your thoughts on that?
All right. Thank you so much for having me over, Sakshi. Job employment is definitely a very large concern, a discussion points across all forums. Let me address your question one by one. For example, the AI scare, right? Now, I think it's too early. These are very early days to talk about it in a panic situation or as a scare. Because these kind of technological disruptions have happened before in mankind at very large levels. For example, a simple analogy here would be there used to be clerks at one point in time, right? Clerks were replaced by computers. Even at that point in time, there used to be a huge scare that, all right, mass job attrition will happen. What will happen to these clerks and all of that? What happened eventually? Newer jobs were created, newer profiles were created, right? So, yes, because of AI, certain entry level, mundane, rhetoric jobs will be replaced, right, by robotics and by AI. Having said that, newer job profiles will be created and are being created as we speak. Because even when it comes to programming and coding, there will be newer algorithms which will be required to maintain the AI, which will be required to systematically input data into the AI, right? So these kind of skill sets would be required to cater to the industry demand in terms of maintaining and running and inputting of those AI systems, right? So newer job profiles, point number one. Point number two, if we look at the entire diaspora of India, which is the fifth largest economy of the world, we have very different, very diversified sectors, right? So it is very difficult to sweep it with a broad brush and talk about employment numbers, unemployment, and all of that in a country which is humongously diversified across sectors. Also, what I've noticed in my 22 years of working in the capital markets is that there is no real time data which actually dives down into the granularity sector wise, right? So, for example, right now we are seeing across the board, Apple has come into India, there's talks of Tesla, there's so much of action which has happened on the electronic manufacturing industry, on homegrown manufacturing, PLI schemes, all of that. But do we actually have real time data reflecting the job creation? Unfortunately, not. Most of it comes to us as consumers with a very big lag. That's point number one. Point number two, if one were to look at information technology, still remains to be the robust employment generated in India. There's humongous investment that India has done on the public and digital infrastructure. So a lot of jobs are being created in healthcare, life sciences, sustainability projects, green projects, in finance, in digital finance, in real estate, construction, right? So it's across the board. Do we actually have real time data in terms of the number of job creation that's happening? Unfortunately, it does come to us with a lag. That's second point. When you're talking about rural job creation, along with the schemes and the benefits and the mudra and the different schemes that's being offered, what I've noticed currently is there's a lot of women beneficiaries So a lot of women are coming into the workforce, availing of these mudra loans, the entrepreneurship, the startup loans, all of that. The mapping for that uh, systematically, along with the rest of the industry, is something that one could look at. The migration of informal labor force into formal labor force is also a data point that one needs to look at, because this is also something that has been happening. Also, when India, for example, we have the MNREGA schemes, right? It's very, very akin to universal basic income, in which a lot of the labor force do not want to migrate into the formal force because they are very happy with the largesse, with the MNREGA and the payouts that they get in rural India. So very, very diverse as an economy. Having said that, I think because we do not have real data points coming to us on a monthly basis, things look a little pessimistic, but not so. In reality, if I were to look at it as a business economist point of view, you look at the credit offtake that's happening in banks. Okay, where is this credit going? It's all going to MSME. It's all going to manufacturing. Humongous credit offtake when it comes to home loans, personal loans, credit cards. So this all indicates actually pretty optimistic scenario when it comes to employment generation in India in today's date.
Right, very, very interesting points there raised by you, and of course, a lot of insight there for our viewers. But those things that look, when we talk about skill training, we talk about the fact that look, the organized entry level jobs, those seeking jobs at home at the moment, watching this, saying that okay, if I have to look at skill training and looking at that gap, how can we really tap onto that gap sector wise? Because it's all very well to talk about it, but where we're talking about jobs really on the ground for the entry level, those who are seeking these jobs, your message to them, how can they really ensure that they're being skilled correctly so for the sector they're looking at?
Sakshi, you're spot on right. You could not have been more right. This there indeed is a gap in the skilling and in the industry demand, and that is something that one can witness across the board when I'm talking about, say, the greener projects, the sustainability projects, right? When I'm talking about AI skill sets, so there is a gap. Newer industries are being created. For example, India has a gaming industry which never existed a decade back, right? Huge employment opportunities there itself, in digital finance, in real estate. So youngsters, a lot of graduates, postgraduates who are coming into the job market have to understand the nuances of a newer age employment opportunities. What are the skill sets required? What does it take to be a sustainability leader, for example? What does it take to be a data inputter in an AI environment? So these are some of the things which the citizenry of India, the youth of India would have to discover, understand. It'll be great if there are corporate trainings done on this. There should be, in my opinion, a body which is a public private initiative which understands this gap and addresses this gap vis-a-vis the skill gap vis-a-vis the industry demand, because that will go a very long way in making India very, very skill based and geared up for the next 20 years.
Right. Well, that is really, really well answered. And you're sort of tapping onto the new titles that we're seeing in job roles, right? For many sitting at home, that itself is sort of a headway into saying, okay, these are the sectors or these are the industries I can look at and I can train myself for. Now, where and how, of course, like you said, this needs to be streamlined. We need to look at corporates. We need to look at, of course, policy making, and we need to really push this and boost this so the economy can see a further jump going forward. But lastly, I'd like to ask you any sectors broadly that you can list for our viewers that they must look at if there's someone who is a job seeker, especially in the organized sector, because
Lovely.
that's
That's a
where we're
very,
really
very
seeing this.
valid, yes,
Yes.
very valid question. In fact, like I said, India's investment, I mean, it's a well known story that India has invested in physical infrastructure. So, real estate construction, definitely, there is a boom which has never before happened post pandemic. There is a boom which is happening even in hospitality and a lot of service sectors. So, one has to understand different service sectors and what they can offer to somebody's personal skill sets. Having said that, there's a lot of focus on healthcare and life sciences. Healthcare and life science, these are all emerging sectors in India which are doing very well. Secondly, sustainability, energy transitions, sustainability leadership roles, understanding of energy projects, electrification. These are all very, very new age themes where there'll be a lot of focus, not just on the from the government's point of view, but also from the public point of view, in terms of private investments flowing into these kind of sectors: healthcare, life sciences, green projects, sustainability, electrification, diversification in terms of renewables, greener projects, finances, real estate, construction, IT, AI, gaming, all of that.
Right. Well, you have given them a whole list. Really, thank you so much for decoding this. And this really is just one part of what we aim to do while discussing, of course, the job puzzle, as it were. Thank you so much for sparing the time and for sharing your thoughts.